Okay. Well, welcome to Earthing Live. This is our first Earthing Live webinar. I guess this would be episode 1. I am here with Clint Ober, and we've decided to change the format of our webinars a little bit. So today we will be answering your questions live as you ask them right here on the webinar. We'll try to do this every Monday at 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. We'll see how that goes, see if there's enough interest in this. How you can ask a question is you can submit in the Q&A section. So if you look in, should be at the bottom of your screen, there should be a Q&A button. You can go ahead and submit your question there. If you put something in the chat section, I will not see that. So I'm not monitoring the chat section. I'm just monitoring the Q&A section. So go ahead and put your questions in there. As always, the customer service department is here with us today. They're in the background. They are monitoring the chat section and also the Q&A section. So they'll be helping out, answering as many questions as they can, and hopefully getting into all of those questions that we aren't able to get here live. If you have any general customer service questions, such as, how do I place an order? How do I track my order? You can go ahead and contact customer service at help@earthing.com, or you can go to our website, earthing.com, and you can live chat, you can find phone numbers. So that's how you can reach out to our customer service team outside of this webinar. We will be having 2 giveaways today, since this is our very first Earthing Live webinar. We will give away 2 Earthing Elite pillow cover kits. So just by simply submitting a question, you are automatically entered to potentially win a free Earthing Elite pillow cover kit. I will stop a couple times during this webinar and announce the winner and let you know how you can contact us. If you already subscribed to our newsletter, you know that we have a special promotion going on right now in the month of April. Earth Day is April 22nd, so in honor of Earth Day, you will receive 10% off your first order in April. Just use the promo code EarthDay, one word, and the first order that you place in the month of April, you will receive 10% off. So now I would like to formally introduce Mr. Clint Ober. He is our founder and CEO over here at earthing.com, earthing pioneer / guru. I don't know if we can call you an earthing guru.
No.
He discovered earthing about 25 years ago and how grounding the human body can improve how we feel. Since then, he's worked tirelessly to research the effects of grounding and develop new earthing products. He's made it his life's mission to educate as many people as he can about earthing. So hence our weekly live question answering webinars that we're going to try to do here. He's co-author of the book Earthing, and he's been featured in documentaries about grounding and earthing. So welcome, Clint.
Thank you, Jennifer. Good to be here. Glad to be able to participate and hopefully answer some questions.
Yeah, this is an exciting format. So we don't have any pre-submitted questions this time. I will just be opening up the Q&A section. I already have it up. And Pamela has asked for earthing mats and other items. Doesn't matter how much skin comes into contact with them. Is more better? Doesn't matter.
Okay, that's a big question. If you're, more is always better. Skin contact is always better, but also when you sit on, for instance, if you sit on a chair mat and you have blue jeans on or normal pants, after you sit there for a few minutes, your body is constantly perspiring, and your clothing, you'll know your clothing kind of gets damp, especially if it's up against a chair or a seat. And so that perspiration has body salts and perspiration in it, but it hydrates the clothing or the material, so you are grounded when you and the same when you sleep, when you put a mattress cover on your mattress and you put a sheet over the top of it. When you lay on top of it, It doesn't take too long for the body perspiration to just hydrate, where you're laying on it. And then also, depending on what area of the country you're in, the humidity in the sheets also adds to some of the conductivity. So, but anyhow, yes. Um, but if your health is compromised and you have a lot of pain, a lot of flaring pain, then definitely maybe use the patch or put your hands on the mats or sleep directly on a mattress cover or the single mat, and you'll get the best, quickest benefit.
Okay. Sandra has asked, I have a double mat for the bed and I've been using it for over a year now.
Uh-huh.
How do I know it's actually working?
Okay. Well, the only way that if you don't have a voltmeter and you don't know how to run a voltmeter, which a lot of people don't, the only thing you can do is we have this checker, and my feet are on the ground here. So if I touch the meter, because my feet are grounded, you can see the meter, the green
Mhm.
coming on, going off. So, and but to test your product, you just take a sheet or whatever that you're testing, take the tester and put it up against it, and you'll see the green light come on. And that way you know it's working. And if it's not working, then you can test your cords and make sure that they're good. And um, but if you have a black mat, a black sleep mat,
Mhm.
if that's what we're talking about, and you've had it
Yeah.
for a year, you can sleep on it many, many more years before it will go bad. It's not. I mean, it's really a long-lasting product. I think we have a lifetime conductivity warranty on those type
On the
products.
black product, yes.
Yes.
And
So
this, where can they find this continuity tester?
that's your the earthing.com website is where I send most people.
Yep, earthing.com under accessories, you can purchase just the tester. You can also find the continuity tester in both of our starter kits. When you purchase a starter kit, a continuity tester is included.
Yep. And all the cords and everything comes with it, with instructions. Tells you how to use it. It's really quite simple and fun to use because you can demonstrate and show other people that your product is working, so they won't think you're nuts. So
So this next question, it's the person hasn't entered their name, but they say they've been earthing since February, so just a couple of months, and
uh-huh.
they have the mats that go the mattress covers. My wife has had neck pain for many years now, and it's not helped her very much. She also earths all day long while working using a uni mat, and even sometimes while sitting on the couch. Although she feels it has helped a little bit, there hasn't been a major improvement. We've tested all the products, and we know that they're all working properly. So, what would be your feedback on that? Only been using it a couple months.
um, well, I would ask first of all if the person is sleeping well, directly on it or under a cover. I mean, with a sheet over the top of it. But the main thing is if the products are working, they've been tested, then they're working, then they are indeed working. And so if a person, some people have immediate and dramatic relief. Sometimes, within 30 minutes of using a patch, people have just report some of the most significant benefits that I've heard and routinely over the last 22 years. But people who have uh, ongoing and don't get the benefit, I will share my observations. Over the years, a lot of people they have issues going on in their personal life. They have stress, and they're holding their body in a stress state, or they're in a chronically elevated sympathetic state, fight or flight state because of their could be the lifestyle, it could be the environment, it could be a lot of things, and so earthing it'll put out the fire of inflammation. That's the main thing that earthing does. But sometimes you have to ask, what is feeding the inflammation? What is causing the inflammation in my body? What is causing the tension and the stress in my body? And there's, without knowing too much, there's more than what we're talking about here. It's really challenging sometimes to go into detail. But what I would recommend is, if you're sleeping, try sleeping on the black mat or the black pillowcase or whatever you have. So you have skin contact. Try that. See if that makes a difference. If you have patches, try the patches in the area or just on the palms of the hands during sleep. That should help. But if you're not getting significant quick benefit, then massage, chiropractic, doctor, professionals who deal in those particular issues, especially with chronic neck issues. I would use the earthing to help reduce the stress, the tension in your body. We know that earthing does this, and we know it works significantly. But again, there's other underlying issues here. It's not just inflammation. So I'll be more than happy to talk more about it if she has any more questions. But it's kind of hard not seeing faces and not seeing people. Hopefully someday we can do that.
Yes, we've talked about trying to do that in the future.
Yeah.
That people can come on and ask their questions live.
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
even
You
more
know,
earthing live.
yeah, then it's easy to understand what they're really asking,
Yeah.
because they can fill in the blanks.
Yeah.
I hope.
Our next question is from Catherine, and she says, to lessen detox effects while using the sheets, the throws, should we reduce time or just tough it out?
Well, the it depends. It's again, this is all subjective. Some people, I would say probably 80, 90% of the people that starts grounding, they don't really have a significant detox effect that that is worthy of managing their entry into everything. But a lot of people do, and the people who do, they uh, based on my experience, a lot of them have you know um, they haven't touched the earth, they haven't been grounded in years in many cases. But on the other hand, there's something feeding, that, and so that tension, that stress. So what happens is you end up, if you end up with a, you exhaust the adrenals, and I think that's a whole story, but I don't want to get into that because I know we got a lot of questions. But but the main thing is when you get grounded, the number one thing that it does is it reduces your blood viscosity, so your blood gets thin. You can see this. You can go to the Earthing Institute. There's actual videos showing how the blood changes and everything. And when the blood thins, now it can get in and out of the capillaries and oxygenate the tissue. And you'll see your skin color change, improve. You'll see improvements in your skin color and everything. But as this process, as this blood gets into the capillaries and better oxygenates the tissue, then you end up with what they call a die-off. Sometimes it's spirochetes, sometimes it's just uh, because you've had poor circulation, you have damage. So, but anyhow, as that happens, it's kind of like when you get the flu and the immune system goes on the full frontal attack and you feel fluey. So that's a die-off of the pathogens or the viruses or whatever. So, so it's to me, unless somebody is really has some significant issues, I always say, go as far as you can, and if you don't feel comfortable, stop, and then give it a break and go again. But if you can go through it, and to make it even better is to be able to go outdoors a little bit, put your feet on the earth, and especially in sunshine. That those two will help you also. The sunshine is a big component to this also. I hope that helps.
Yeah. Let's talk about washing the product. So Linford Graham has socks, our wearable socks. Now, we do not currently have the socks available on the site, but we are bringing them back. So they will be available, in a couple of months. but we have other wearables. He is wondering how to wash them and should they be washed. So that kind of goes for all of our products. How do we care for them? How do we wash them?
Well, the silver product, I mean, the socks are a silver product. They have silver
Mhm.
in them. And silver, we know we stopped producing the bedding on the silver because of the oxidation of the perspiration and the body salts because it was destroying the silver too quickly. And so, but anyhow, the silver socks and the throw, the socks specifically, you can throw them in the wash with Tide or whatever you use, and they'll be perfectly, and they'll clean perfectly, and the silver will be hold up, and everything's fine. It'll hold up as long as it will under normal circumstances. the, the thing that some people do is they use, some of these what they call friendly. I mean, green.
Mhm.
Simple green is a good product for. I'll get into that one in a minute. But for laundry, where you're actually washing it with water, um, so the just your general cleaners are they do the best job. But when you get into some of these, um, I don't know what to call them. Alternative, the modern stuff that you buy in the health food store. Some of them are very oxidative because they don't have the bleach, but they have um, some certain acids in them. It's like grapeseed extract, and
Mhm.
these will all tarnish silver. So it's best just to use a simple, ordinary laundry detergent. Your but again, there's thousands of them out there. But the ones we have the problem with are the ones that are the I don't know the names. I just know that I generally tell people just wash them like you're going to wash your sheets.
Yeah. We usually look for things like whitening agents in the ingredients,
Bleach.
any kind of bleach, oxidizing agents. Um, you don't want to use anything like that.
Yeah. So, but generally, you're just if you wash them like you would wash your sheets, you're going to be fine, except for bleach. I guess a lot of people bleach the sheets. Um, maybe
Okay.
I better rephrase that. um, I don't know. It's my answer is use conventional laundry detergent, the non-bleach, and you'll be and they'll last for a long time.
Okay. Albina has asked, is there a limited time that is suggested for using the mat? Can you use it all day long? Should you only use it a few times during the day? What is the recommended dosage of earth?
Okay. There's no recommended dosage, but I will tell you, I will share this with you. 100 years ago, 200 years ago, we lived on the earth, we slept on the earth, we were barefoot, we grew things with our, even 50, 60 years ago, we were in the gardens barefoot, raising and handling things. I mean, we were always naturally grounded from the beginning of time, from the first amoeba up until whatever period of time you want to pick. We, all life on this planet was grounded. It was connected to the earth. It was in physical contact with the earth, and therefore it maintained Earth's negative charge. To put this in perspective, the animals who live in the wild, the coyote, the deer, the horses, all the animals, all the mammals that live on the earth, that live outdoors on the earth, they have none of the modern health disorders that we humans do. The corollary, on the other hand, is all the animals who live indoors with their owners, insulated from the earth, they all manifest the same health disorders as their owners. So I just wanted to, so grounding, it's more, being ungrounded is unnatural. Any period of being ungrounded. But in our society, in our time, in our life, the last 60 years, we've totally insulated ourselves from the earth. So
Yes.
now it takes an extreme effort to get back to the earth and to get grounded. So any amount of grounding. So what I will say is any amount of grounding is good. More is better. And if you have pain, and I mean, if you have health disorder, if you have pain in your body, you have inflammation. You cannot have pain in your body if you don't have inflammation. I'm talking about the chronic pain. So you want to stay grounded until the pain stops. That means you put the fire out. Then when it comes back up, then you get regrounded. But um, ground as often as you can. And the more, if your health is compromised, then I would say ground as often as you can until you recover.
All right. This question is from Lori. Are there any recent studies about the impact of earthing on thyroid function?
We don't have a study just on thyroid, although, well, we do the SoCal study. I forget which one it is, but they measured all the thyroid activity over a 24-hour period and showed the effect that earthing had on T3 and. But one of the number one things we hear from people when they start grounding is a lot of them had to begin lowering their thyroid meds because they would start getting the palpitations. And so anybody who is on thyroid, that you will know if you're uh, uh, if you experience any kind of heart palpitation from it. And then the doctors generally lower you, but they generally keep track of your thyroid meds anyway. So, but anyhow, yes, we have a significant amount of people who start grounding and they immediately have noticeable effects from the grounding, and within oft times in months or 6 months, they're totally off of the thyroid meds. You can't just go off of thyroid meds. You have to slow them down over a period of months. And I'm not telling anybody to do that. You only do that at the advice of your doctor, because you're taking the thyroids and they're supplementing your hormones and adrenals, and you need to be aware of the effect of adding or decreasing your thyroid levels. But there is a study. If you go to the earthinginstitute.net and type in thyroid, there is a study there. It's by the SoCal brothers and father and son, and it was done in a military clinic where they measured the actual cortisol. I mean, they measured many things, but thyroid is one of the main things they measured, and had significant results in just 24 hours. So,
and that's at the Earthing Institute.
Earthing Institute, I can.
.net.
Yeah, if somebody can maybe find the name of that particular study. It's hard for me to do that when I'm answering questions.
Sure. I'll see what I can do here.
It's one of the SoCal studies.
Okay. In the meantime, Marie asks, have you heard of any thinning or balding hair that has begun to grow back or thicken as a result of grounding?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm one of them. When I was 50, I had a big bald spot, and I'm now 76. I'll be 77 in a few weeks. But yeah, I still have a bald spot, but it really filled in and really grew back. But we hear that a lot, and we especially hear it from women who have thinning hair or balding hair, that after they started sleeping grounded, the hair started to thicken up. And yeah, we've known people that have had to wear wigs, and within a year or so, they weren't wearing the wigs anymore. So yeah, it's hair loss. It's genetic. I understand to a degree, but I think day-to-day hair loss or rapid hair loss or advanced hair loss is it's an inflammation-related health disorder. It's alopecia. We have one of the studies that they did in the mice was that the grounded rats didn't experience alopecia throughout their life, where the ungrounded rats did. And we didn't pick on the mice. These were mice left over from experiments that we used in our studies. The first 6 months they used them to produce lab rats, and then they let them live out. All we did was buy their time and let them live out the rest of their life, the next 2 years. And the thing we learned from that study was alopecia was one of them. and but the ungrounded rats all experienced what we call metabolic syndrome, and the ungrounded rats had it significantly less as they aged.
Mhm.
So it's a good study.
All right. A lot of people, I think, will be happy to hear that.
Oh yeah, that's a good one. I mean, that's yeah, people rave about it. Again, the Earthing Institute. You can do keyword search on the Earthing Institute, and there should be comments by various people. But we don't have a study, but we do have the rat study
All right.
is there. It talks about alopecia.
Let's see. How Leslie asks, how will I know that I'm benefiting from sleeping on an earthing mat when I don't have any serious conditions?
Well, if you don't have any serious conditions, first of all, if you are ungrounded, if you I don't know what your age is, but assume you're um, under 35, let's say. So you start sleeping grounded. What you're going to experience is, first of all, your blood viscosity is going to thin and normalize like it would be in the animals in nature,
Mhm.
and you're going to have improved circulation. You're going to have improved oxygenation of the tissue. That means your skin is going to look better, your color is going to come back, your hair is going to grow better. Um, but uh, what you're saying is you don't have the chronic aches and the chronic pains, or you don't have lupus, MS, fibromyalgia, or any of the chronic inflammation-related health disorders. So that means you're young, maybe. Um, but the main thing you will feel, you'll have more energy, you'll have less colds, you'll feel better, you're just going to feel better. You're going to get out of bed. You're going to wake up in the morning and be able to get out of bed. Most people
Mm.
who are not grounded can drag themselves out of bed, force themselves out of bed, but you just have more energy, and you're going to be healthier because you're going to be like the animals in nature. You're going to be healthier.
Okay, let's see. So this is kind of an interesting question. Mary has asked, if you connect more cords to one of our products, would that give you a greater flow of electrons? Or is one cord sufficient?
Now, one cord is sufficient. And let me explain. When you use the word flow, flow means that there's a current flowing on the wire, that there's electricity moving. Okay. With grounding, there is no flow. There is no electricity flowing. What happens when you connect something to the earth? I need to find a good metaphor for this, but basically it equalizes with the earth, meaning if you took a wash rag and you put it in water, just part of it, you can see the water crawl up the washcloth, something like that. But anyhow, as soon as something touches the earth, then at the speed of light, the body equalizes with the same electrical potential as the earth. It's identical standing barefoot on the earth. So anyhow, so in order for there to be flow, you have to have a wire connected to the body going somewhere else, to another, to the other side of the house. Then some electrons can travel up and over through the body and over there. But but we have a resistor in our cords. And this is a single-ended ground. It's a ground plane. It is not a conductive wire. I mean, it will conduct, but it's all safe. So what I'm trying to say is when you when you connect with the earth, then the first thing that's going to happen is your body's going to equalize with the earth. And where we saw this the most was when we did the red blood cell study, the blood viscosity study. This is also on the Earthing Institute. And there's a movie in there that actually shows, just a 2-minute strip that shows what happens to the blood when you ground. So the, all your little red blood cells, they have an electrical surface charge, just like the earth itself. So when you stand barefoot on the earth, then your red blood cells equalize to earth potential. What that means is they have more electrons than they did before. So the more electrons the red blood cells have, the more they repel each other. The blood viscosity of your blood thins, it normalizes, then it can get in and out of the capillaries. So that's all that happens. What happens is your body becomes negatively charged, about 15 to 20 millivolts. You can't have inflammation in a grounded body. You can't have the chronic pains, from the inflammatory oxidative processes when you're grounded. So what grounding does, it just reduces inflammation and then inflammation can't develop because there's plenty of free electrons from the earth forever available to reduce any charge, to reduce any fire that's related to oxidation. I hope I answered that right. I know I answered it right, but did I make sense?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
We have a very interesting question from Steve Patrick, and he has said that based on 2 blood markers, doctors say I have prostate cancer. Unfortunately, it's gone to the bone and he has less than a year to live. He's been earthing since July of 2020, and he believes it has helped kept him going. He is wondering that would he get even more benefits by running wires direct from his product to the rods outside. So right now he's using his grounded outlet in his home. Would he get even more benefit if he switched to a ground rod? Would that be?
Technically, no. But if it makes you feel better, do that. You can experiment. That's all I can tell you.
Mhm.
But I will share that we have a serious amount of men with prostate issues that use grounding, and they use the electrode patch, and they put it right on the taint. I tell them it's best to shave your hair first, or shave some hair first. But we have some pretty miraculous stories. We had one gentleman in Palm Springs, and he was like in his 70s, late 70s, and his PSA was around 20, and he had all kinds of issues. And so we grounded him, put him in a recovery bag, and the patches. He went back to the doc in a month, and his PSA had normalized at about 1.5, and he just came back to life. But anyhow, prostate issues began with it's an inflammation related weakening of the muscles and so on. But the main thing is to reduce the inflammation, and then the immune system can deal with the cancer if it's at all possible.
Okay. Lori is asking, have any individuals reported improvement in their peripheral neuropathy?
Absolutely. We're talking about blood viscosity when you get grounded. And please, look in go on the Earthing Institute and look at some of the thermal imaging studies, the thermography, and you can see the fingers sometimes. They're when they take the thermal images, they're black. There's no circulation in the fingers, and that's kind of like neuropathy. But after they're grounded for a reasonable period of time, then the color and the heat comes back and the circulation improves in the fingers. But but anyhow, neuropathy it depends on how much damage has been done. But what I recommend is using the patches as much as possible, or sleeping with your feet on the black mat, or hands, sleep your whole body, whatever. But yeah, neuropathy is promoted by poor circulation. If you want to improve neuropathy, then you need to increase the circulation to the extremities and oxygenate the tissue and let the immune system start to clean up the damage and hopefully restore the circulatory and nervous system and the nerves. And yeah, you have to lose the shoes and get grounded and stay grounded until you get well.
I want to let everybody know that over in the chat section, as Clint is mentioning these studies that you can find at the Earthing Institute, our customer service team is putting the links to those studies in the chat section. So I can see one was just added there about the study that Clint just mentioned. So if
Yeah,
you're interested in reading those, go ahead and check them out in the chat section, not the Q&A section, the chat section of this webinar, and you'll be able to get the link.
yeah. And there's lots of commentaries also, uh, um, professional commentary, published commentaries, and along with a lot of stories from people about these issues that we're talking about.
Got it. Okay, so we have our first winner of the Earthing Elite pillow cover kit. That person is Mary Felkner. So Mary Felkner just won an Earthing Elite pillow cover kit. And Mary, our customer service team will reach out to you privately in just a minute here through the webinar. And they'll let you know how they can go ahead and facilitate getting you the Earthing Elite pillow cover kit. That's a nice win there. Okay. We had an interesting question here. Is from D Wells. D is asking, is there a way to measure how much grounding you're getting? Is there some sort of meter to measure how much grounding, or are you just grounded?
Well, basically, you're grounded. All human beings, if they will stand on the earth, they will all be grounded to the same degree. The speed at which people are grounded will depend on their skin resistance. Some people have very thick, dry skin. Some people have very thin, dry skin. Some people have a lot of moisture, perspiration. They're more well hydrated. But even no matter what's going on, no matter what the resistance is in the end, you're still going to eventually, in a matter of seconds or minutes, equalize with the earth. So the best way to measure is you can actually, how do you feel?
Mhm.
Put your feet on the earth and notice what happens with your pain. Notice your respiration. Notice your skin color. Uh, Notice your demeanor. Notice your thoughts, how they change. It's hard to be mad when you're grounded. It's hard to be mad when you're sitting out in the yard with your feet on the earth, the sun raining down on you.
Yes, it does help with moods. I know just from personal experience, it does help.
Yeah.
Lisa has asked, I have 8 metal crowns in my mouth. Will that be a problem while sleeping grounded?
No, they'll just be grounded like the rest of your body.
All right.
It'll reduce any inflammation in the area.
Nancy Baker has asked if I can only ground once a week for an hour at the beach or on grass. Is that enough to receive benefits, or am I wasting my time?
You're never wasting your time because your body is full of inflammation due to just um, metabolism and the environmental stressors, the emotional stressors from cortisol and so on. So your immune system is forever dealing with inflammation, and so if you could just any amount of grounding is going to put that fire out within 30 minutes. You can see it in all of our studies at the institute.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to stop it, and then when you take off and go again, then it'll slowly build back up. But if you want to heal and recover, then you have to stay grounded long enough that the immune system can go through its normal cycles and processes to clean up the damage and restore and so on. So uh, if that's all you can do, then consider cold water pipes. Um, there are find other ways you can get grounded, whether it's just standing on the sidewalk on your bare feet. Um, but find some ways. But the main thing is if a half hour of grounding makes you feel better, then you have to find ways, to de-stress daily. You have to get this inflammation out of your body. You have to ground it out. You do not want to go to bed and sleep uh, with this inflammatory stress in your body. It's called aging, advanced aging.
Celia has asked, what product would you recommend as a gift to introduce earthing?
Well, that would depend on the person. If it's an older person and they have arthritis or flaring anything, a patch kit would be a miracle for them. If it's somebody that's sitting at a computer all day, um, they may use the Unimat as a desk mat. They'll get good benefit, and they would get better benefit if they were to take their shoes off and put their feet on. Kind of unlikely. If it's mom, a throw is a beautiful product. That's what they love. I mean, the grounded throws. Um, but it would just depend on who you're buying it for and why. If a lot of people are reluctant to do anything because they don't understand it and they don't. It's you have to take some time to learn a little bit about this. But I would say that the average mom, maybe a woman 30 to 55, 60, when she buys a grounding product, she uses it for herself for a few days, a week maybe. Then she gives it to her mom, and her mom doesn't want it, so she goes over and forces her to use it, or puts it on her bed for her, or whatever. And then she'll buy another one for herself. And then she'll give that to her sister or somebody else that needs it. So, and in most of these cases, it's hard to just buy it and give it to them, but they actually go and put it on their on their bed or in their office or wherever. But anyhow, I would say the Unimat is very versatile. You can sleep on it, sit on it, walk on it, do whatever. If something is acute, the patches are probably the best. If they have sleep issues and just overall health issues and want to just feel better, then the sleep mats. But they'll all do the same thing. But some are more comfortable. They function better, the forms depending on the lifestyle.
I think that's a really good point, Clint, that all of our products do the same thing. They put you in contact with the earth. It's just a matter of how how do you like to use them, right? What's more comfortable for the manner or the environment that you'll be using them in? Are you watching TV? Are you sleeping? Are you at your desk? Um, they all do the same thing.
Yeah, a lot of people use the sleep products because you put them on the bed one time and that's it. Every night thereafter, you just come home, lay down, go to sleep. You don't have to
Nothing to
do anything.
remember. Yep.
There's no work. There's no effort. There's nothing to be concerned with.
Okay, Alex has an interesting question. For a direct ground rod connection, meaning he's using a ground rod, so he's connected directly to the earth. He's not using the grounded three-pronged outlet. Is the 100 ohm safety feature still needed? So the 100,000 safety feature.
Well, we put it there for several reasons. One is there's static electricity in all homes. Everybody has a lot of static electricity on their bodies. Without the 1 mega ohm resistor or the 100K resistor, you're going to have sparking. You're going to be able to feel because it's like touching a doorknob if there's nothing in between. And the difference between a resistor and no resistor is like 20 nanoseconds. It's only going to take 20 nanoseconds longer to get grounded and to be at earth potential. So what you're doing is you're just slowing it down just enough that it can do no harm. It can't start a fire. It can't hurt somebody. But on the other hand, the issues are more like it's like the insurance company told us what would happen. What's the worst thing that could ever happen? And uh, and and he described it. He says, well, let's say you have a grounded product on your bed, and a child comes in with the scissors and cuts the cord or whatever, and pees on the mattress while he's sitting on it, or cuts an electrical cord, to a hair dryer or something. He said, those are the things that they're 1 in a million, but they show up. And he said, for that reason, we add safety because hell, I mean, Uh, Safety is number one. I mean, with all of our earthing products, the number one thing we did nothing without putting safety first. And so it's really just 30, 40, 50 years of background in electrical and communications and safety. And just the electrical world it's more about safety than it is anything, doing things safely. So I would recommend to maintain it, but you don't have to. I mean, but just don't do it on our watch. I mean, our cords. But I would highly recommend you follow convention. They're there for a reason.
Okay. I just had emergency appendicitis removal. This is Trudy. Trudy wants to know what's the best way to recover with earthing after surgery.
Okay, well, I've had a little bit of that. Patches work wonders. In fact, they're unbelievable. I mean, how fast they work, and the pain is gone just sometimes in hours. When you you have to know when you have surgery or when you have any kind of an injury, um, like or like you have a tooth pulled or anything, then what you have is you have what we call the Vicodin pain.
Mhm.
That's that hot, burning, oxidative pain. That does not exist when you are grounded. You'll still have the healing pain that says, "Don't touch me, leave me alone, let me whatever." But that hot, burning pain does not exist. And the reason it doesn't exist is because you're grounded. And then the neutrophils, as they're releasing, the oxidative radicals that are, if you don't have enough electrons, then when they're trying to heal, and they're creating more damage than they're doing good because there's nothing to unwind the excess radicals, and then they start oxidizing healthy tissue. That's the Vicodin pain. That's the oxidative burning pain. You don't have the oxidative burning pain when you're grounded, like the animals in wild. I never could when I was young understand why animals didn't have to call the ambulance, didn't have to rush them to the hospital every time something happened because they never had that hot burning pain. They just it's a natural thing. Anyhow, enough of that.
Okay. Candace has asked, when I plug the cord into a power strip, do I have to turn the power strip on to connect to the ground?
No, the ground is running 24/7. The ground is not connected to your electrical. It's an independent port.
Mhm.
So the power strip is working whether it's on or not.
Okay. Dana has asked, how long does it take to equalize with the earth once you put your feet on an earthing bed pad?
Um, well, that happens at the speed of light. It's like electrical. When you flip the switch on a light, it's instantly there. Now, the issue is the healing. First thing that happens is your blood circulates once a minute.
Mhm.
So if you're putting your feet on a pad, then as the blood comes, I mean, the feet and the hands are the most conductive part of the body. But anyhow, as the blood goes by, it's picking up electrons. The blood is starting to thin, and then those electrons are being used up, of course, um, when it gets into the capillaries and things, and not all of them, but some of them, and so the healing process will start instantly, but it takes about 5 minutes to 15 minutes, and you feel that energy starting to come into your body, and you feel something different, and then all of a sudden you instantly release. You instantly release the static charge and the that environmental um, from all of the electrical noise in our environment. So as soon as you're grounded, you release because now you're part of the earth. You're not part of the electrical home environment. So, um, so what happens is your grounding is immediate, but your healing process starts. And then if it's hot burning pain, like arthritic flare or surgical flare, then that'll decrease in less than 15 minutes, sometimes 5 minutes. Um, but the healing the reason you're grounding or connecting is that's going to take time because the immune system works, the circulation, the oxygenation, the cleanup. It's a process. It's like the body. It takes a 24-hour period just for the body to recycle itself and recover every day. So you're well on your way to a good recovery process instantly, but it is going to take time depending on how much how compromised your health is.
Okay. We have a question here that says, I've been using earthing products for years now, and at first I had really good benefits, but now not so much. Why is that?
Well, there's probably a couple of reasons. One is if it's we've only had the new products out for the last year or two.
Right, year and a half.
So if it's the early silver products, the cotton silver, they decrease in conductivity. So if it's been years, they probably are not working. You would need to get a tester to verify or a voltmeter to verify the conductivity. So, and then you need to test your cords, which cords do go bad, but these testers have a way that you can plug the cord into the side and you can see that the green light comes on. That means the cord's working. If the green light doesn't come on, that means your cord is been chewed by an animal or a cat or a dog or child, or it's just worn out from use. But so you have to first of all test the product. Another good way to go is just go sit outdoors with your bare feet on the earth for 20 minutes, see if you feel better. That's how you should feel when you go in and get into your bed. But yes, there is a problem. I would start with testing the products, and unless there's serious lifestyle changes or environmental changes, you should be healthy and happy and feeling better.
All right. Lisa has asked a question that we do get a lot of. Her specific question is, what are the EMF levels for the sleep mattress? But we get a lot of questions on EMFs in general. Can you touch on that? And
well, EMF, every electrical wire, every electrical appliance, cord, all the wiring in your home, they all radiate what we call an electromagnetic field. And these fields go on and off 60 times a second. And they are part of the electrical system. They're not, you can't take them away from an electrical wire. You can shield them, you can do things like that, but you can't take them away, and they don't jump across the room, get onto a bed pad and go to the earth. It does not work that way. So at what level is an EMF? If you're the bed pad, if you connect it to the electrical ground or connect it to the earth, close to the electrical ground rod outdoors, so you have a similar reference, then you'll generally drop 20 millivolts or less if you're laying on the bed. So when the mattress pad will, then when you lay on the mattress pad and your body, again, it equalizes with the earth via the pad, which is via the wire, from the earth. So the electrons are coming up from the earth, the energy of the earth is coming up, and then you're close coupled with it, and then you are physically coupled with it. And so now when the EMFs are in the environment, so the earth pushes them away 60 times a second. And so that's how grounding works. And this is where I came from, 30 years of background in the communications industry. Shielding is what you do to eliminate the effects of electric field on appliances and anything electrical, electronics. So the human body is no different than a transformer or an amplifier or transceiver. It's an electrical device, and in order to eliminate electromagnetic interference, EMI is what is the more legitimate word for this, is you shield it, and the best way to shield a person is to ground that person, either with a wrist strap, a grounded shoes, or in our case, grounded bed, mats, patches, whatever. So you're naturally shielded from EMF when you are grounded. And the problem of EMF is they do perturb. This is from the NIH, National Institute of Health Sciences. And they've done studies on it. Electric fields can create weak electric currents in your body, mostly between cells. What this means is that electrons in your body are being pushed and pulled 60 times a second. That's how a light bulb works. There's no electrons going through the light bulb. The only thing that's ever happening in a light bulb is the electrons are being excited 60 times a second. And that little bitty movement is what heats up the filament and creates the light. Well, the last thing you want to do is heat up anything in the body, So, but anyhow, the body is well capable of managing it. And by and large, they do not penetrate the skin. So maybe it's just get grounded and let the earth take care of the environmental EMFs, electric fields. There's probably more that this person wants to hear or wants to know, and if they'll ask me more, I'll be more than happy to carry on. But I don't know where to go. But 20 millivolts is what you're asking me on the bed pad. 50 millivolts and under is just noise, background noise.
Okay. We have the winner has been chosen for our second giveaway of the Earthing Elite pillow cover, and that is Celia Madden. Celia Madden has just won an Earthing Elite pillow cover kit. So our team will be reaching out to you in just a minute here through the webinar to get your contact information so we can get that to you. So this next question from Jennifer Graham, I think it's a really good question because it kind of highlights issues people might have naturally grounding in the wintertime. So she has said, greetings from Northern Ontario. I've been grounding for 4.5 weeks by walking outside early on the frozen ground. I haven't noticed any changes. I'm not going to give up because it makes so much sense. I've suffered from insomnia my entire adult life. Do you think I will eventually notice improvements? I eat very clean and I've made other healthy lifestyle changes as well.
Okay. If you're walking on frozen ground, I presume that there's still snow on the ground. Snow is not conductive. It's like pure water is not conductive. You have to have mineral in it, and snow coming from is pure water, so it has little or no conductivity. So you're probably not getting much benefit. So what I would do is take a hose and kind of water down the area, and maybe that would create some thawing. Otherwise, just take a kettle of warm water and just let it sit on the earth or pour it. You don't need a very big patch. All you need is an area where you can go sit down and put your feet on it, if that's the extent that we can do or she can do in this situation. But yeah, that's a good way to do it. Figure it out.
Now, I've been with the company almost 15 years, and back in the day, many more people, I think, used the ground rod instead of plugging into a 3-pronged outlet. And we used to tell people, water your ground rod, right? Especially in the summertime when it would get dried out, or wintertime when it would freeze.
Yes. Yeah, the home ground rods, they're in the ground 8 to 12 feet, and they're usually an inch around. So they are a real secure ground. They are dedicated ground. The small ground rods that we use, we they only go in the earth 11 inches
Mm.
because anything that goes over 11 inches, you have to call and get locates for the telephone power, gasoline, I mean, gas, and so on. You can't just go
Sure.
poke holes in the yards because you don't know where those electrical things are. And so that's why we stay with that. So if you're using an electric or 11-inch ground rod, you do have to water it sometimes in some parts of the country because the ground gets very dry and it's not very conductive.
I always say, or we always say, the best places to get grounded naturally is where there's vegetation, right? So if you have a tree
Yes.
growing somewhere or bushes somewhere, you know that there's water and those plants are
Yeah.
grounded.
Yeah, that's the best place to put a ground rod, anywhere where there's
Mhm.
something live growing because you know there's enough moisture there that that
Mhm.
plant can live.
Yeah. This is an anonymous question. Are there certain places on Earth, such as mountains or oceans, where earthing is more effective?
Well, electrons will always, for instance, if you have a tower, there will be more electrons at the point at the top of the tower than there is at the bottom. And that's because the atmosphere is positive, and so there's a pull. The positive charge of the atmosphere is pulling electrons from the earth, and they're trying to, get together and neutralize each, the charge. So mountains are more negative at the top, the peaks. The higher you go on the mountain, the more uh, uh, there's going to be more electrons.
Mhm.
So there's more electrons. If you have shoes on, there's more electrons at the top of your head than there is at your feet. If you take your shoes off and stand on the earth, they'll be equal. Um, but it's because the atmosphere is pulling on those electrons. So anything, it's like lightning rods when they originally created them. They put them on barns and houses, and they had a point. And the reason that was for the point is because um, there's more electrons there. So anywhere there is a high point, there's going to be more electrons. Now, other than that, talking about your feet on the ground, the beach is perfect because you have salt water. You have salt in the beach and the sand and so on. Live grass that is just been watered.
Mhm.
That's better. Um, but I have done experiments. I remember a few years ago I went out to the Borrego Desert when it was like 110 degrees in an RV. I didn't say I was bright. I just
Curious.
but but at night it's so beautiful out there. There's other reasons, but anyhow, so what I did is the sand out there at that time of the year, you can go down about 4 to 6 inches, and it's really really dry.
Mhm.
You have to kick it back, and but anyhow, there is always moisture underneath the sand. But anyhow, so what I even in this loose, very loose sand, I put a ground rod in the sand and went in and started doing my measurements. And as soon as I would take the ground rod out and put it back in, I would see huge changes, just like I would in anywhere else in the yard or anything else. So what that means is, electrons are what's the proper word? Ubiquitous. Uh,
Mhm.
they're everywhere. I mean, they don't go and stay in a certain place. They travel easier in less resistance. But beyond that, the Earth, there's an equal amount of charge everywhere. And so it depends on the moisture in the area that reduces the resistance, and you get grounded in a shorter period of time. I hope that makes sense.
Yes. I've noticed a couple of questions here about Parkinson's. Mimi is asking, are there any reasons you can think of where grounding wouldn't be recommended? And do you have any studies about grounding effects on Parkinson's? My mom was just diagnosed with Parkinson's. I bought her a grounding blanket 2 years ago, but it just sits in her closet. I need to convince her it's beneficial.
Okay, in the Earthing movie, um, there's a gentleman by the name of Richard Koch, and he spent 30 years with the FDA. Uh, And anyhow, we grounded. He found us about 5, 6, 7 years ago, and his mom had a lot of um, peripheral circulatory issues and so on. But anyhow, so he got involved with us, and he's been helping with a lot of things that we're doing. And anyhow, so I'm constantly sending him samples so that he can do tests. And one of the tests that he loves is grounding somebody with Parkinson. He just takes the patch, puts the, as long as they're sitting there, they put the patch on, their tremors, everything calms down.
Mhm.
So what we're working on is what can we do when that person is mobile or, out of that environment. But if you want to calm the Parkinson's down, if you want to stop, if you want to arrest the Parkinson from doing more damage, then get grounded and stay grounded forever, because it's like MS. They're all kind of similar, but it's the neutrophils releasing reactive oxygen species that are oxidizing the myelin sheath. And the reason is because there's not enough redox potential or not enough free electrons to ground out the excess reactive oxygen species. So as soon as you do this, then the body becomes, it's like pouring water on a fire. This is like pouring electrons on inflammation. It's the same process, same concept. So absolutely, get her grounded. Just put it. If I don't know if you don't, if you, even if you have a blanket or whatever, just set it on her lap. Put her hands on it and just tell her to sit there for 30 minutes, and just otherwise put a patch on her, and it'll happen faster. It'll happen instantly. But she should, yeah, she needs to. It'll just continue to get worse and worse and worse. So you have to stop the process.
Mhm.
The only way you can do that is increase the redox potential, increase the immune system's ability to um, stop the fire, stop the oxidative stress. Everybody needs to know. I'm not a doctor, um, but I spent 22 years grounding people, and I have thousands of observations, and I have hundreds of parallel observations where you see routines. I mean, you ground somebody with Parkinson, the tremors stop. It's almost immediate. I mean, it's speed of light, um, because the nerves are electrical. Everything's electrical. It's the whole body. Everything in here is electrical. It's all electronics, and but yeah, it's important. But MS, lupus, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, all of them, they're all the same. They're all inflammation related health disorders. You have a fire in your body. You've got to put the fire out and stop the progression.
We have Dana who has asked a question here. I could only tolerate grounding in my bed for 20 to 30 minutes.
Uh-huh.
I switched to the actual ground rod instead of a plug-in, and after 3 or 4 days, my legs were swollen. Why is this so?
I don't know. Not having enough uh, firsthand experience in seeing this materialize. Um, Swelling in the legs. One of the number one things we hear is that people that have edema and all of these kind of things is reduced swelling in the legs. So uh, swelling in the legs is, I mean, there's potential diabetes involved here. There's other issues that are involved. But I would I would probably stop doing that and try to get that under control first. Although I believe grounding should be helping that. Go outdoors, put your feet on the earth, and do it that way to make sure that it's not the grounding.
Mhm.
Um, Salt, a lot of times when the body, all of a sudden, the body becomes more negative, and it has all these excess electrons available to do work. So the first thing the body's going to do is you're getting a big release, and then the body's going to start putting the fire out. And once the fire starts to subside, then the immune system can go to work on repairing the damage that has been done by the inflammation. That's why it's important to stay grounded as much as possible to keep the fire down so the immune system can start recovering. But anytime there's elevated swelling, things of that nature, if it's gone on for more than 3 days, then you need to go see a doctor and find out what's going on.
Okay. Robert has asked if there's any way to ground while driving a vehicle, such as a truck, for long hours.
Oh heavens, yes. We have the auto seat pad. That was one of the first products we ever did, one of the first studies we ever did. Remember when I first came to California, I was doing that first study up in Ventura. We wanted to test the electric fields and everything and grounding in the trucks because these guys are sitting there driving 8-hour shifts at a time and longer. And some of them never get out of those trucks. They never get grounded. So anyhow, we made up some little pads and we took voltmeters and I rode up and down the road going from somewhere in Castell or Ventura, California, up to Grapevine and spent the night and came back and just to do measurements. But anyhow, so then we ended up doing studies. We took the little seat mats that we have, they're on the site, and we made those up and then we gave them to the drivers. We went to the restaurant or the gas station there in Castell, truck stop, and got permission from the owner, and she came out and introduced us to the different drivers and said, here, you got to try what this guy's giving you, because the last guy tried to said it really worked well. But anyhow, the number one thing that we had reported was less anxiety and road rage. I mean, just irritability. But the main thing, the most surprising thing, is everybody had improved night vision. So that means you had better circulation, in the capillaries in the eyes. And so yeah, it's very important because all you do is connect the pad to the frame of the truck. And the truck is, when you're driving down the road, I mean, it's picking up a negative charge also. And there's some carbon in the tires, not a lot. but the main thing too is your battery, your chassis of your vehicle is connected to a bank of negatively charged batteries.
Okay.
Absolutely. Highly recommend it.
Joan has asked why you recommend using the patch only once.
I don't recommend it. It's we use the patch in a lot of our studies and a lot of our where we're going out and grounding people. We've grounded 1,500 people at a time with the patches at the longevity conferences. And but the reason is because it's hygienic. I mean, you can put it on anybody and then throw it away. You can't do that with any other product. But the patches, if you can make them last longer, that's fine. You can use them as long as you can make them last. But generally, they're designed for the thing you do not want to do is put them on and leave them in the same spot for 3 days. You want to take them off and move them around if you're going to do that. Mm-hmm. No, I would say just move it. Otherwise, your skin's going to become very upset, irritated, and you'll develop an allergy because the body will be trying to throw it off.
Okay. Oh, let's see here. There's so many questions.
I'm not too busy.
So Mary is asking, since one part of the body is grounded, the whole is grounded. So what's the benefit of using something like, a bed mat over something small like a patch? Well,
that's a good question. One of the reasons is because they don't want to sleep with a wire. Mm-hmm. A lot of people, I've heard it 1,000 times, I'm not going to be tethered. You're not going to tether me. So that's part of it. But in the communications industry, where let's say we have a bank of, of electronics, amplifiers, and we're getting some noise. So what we do is we put grounding and shielding. We ground everything and whatever. And then if the noise comes down, but there's still a little bit, we always say more ground, more ground. So the key to clean signals is more ground and more shielding. So when you connect just one finger to the ground, you are conducting um, electrons to the body, but the electrons are traveling. I mean, the electric field of the Earth is instant. It's at the speed of light. The electrons, though, are migrating very, very slowly. They don't travel at the speed of light. Generally, your blood is circulating once a minute. And if you have just the blood in your finger, is the only portion that's being uh, grounded, the free electrons are coming in, so they're riding on the blood, let's say. Um, just all I can tell you, there's um, when we put, here's an example. We did a lot of work with school teachers up in the high desert area above, in California, and we would work with the unions, and these are teachers who were about to be fired or stop them from teaching because of their poor health, primarily. Just the stress they had in their life, and a lot of us from the school itself. So anyhow, the unions put together a program where they called it. Don't even remember the name. You might remember the name of it, but anyhow, it's so different businesses in town, like the salons and nails and some of the doctors and so on, and they came to us and asked us to donate bed pads, and we did. And then we came out with different pillow things that we were experimenting, the silver ones back then. Then we started adding the pillows to it. So we were using the bed pad and the pillow. And the people had different results, but much more profound results when they used both. Um, on the other hand, I've grounded people that haven't been grounded for 30 years just with a patch on their knee, and seen things disappear in 30 minutes. It's remarkable. So for localized grounding, uh, area of trauma, that's what the patches and everything are really for. But for people whose health is very compromised and they want to sleep like they're in a cave, you see, one of the issues is this: when you put the mattress cover in your bed, it is a ground plane and it is conducting electrons to your body, and they are migrating through your sheets, through your clothing or whatever, and you are eventually going to get grounded. But the thing that we haven't talked a lot about yet, but Gaetan is working on it around the clock, and we're doing other things. And Jim Oshman, we've been trying to write a book about this for the last 7-8 years to get it all together. But the Earth has an electric field. It has its own energy field, just like what they call, an EMF. Well, the Earth has its own EMF, and that's the EMF that we evolved in. That's the EMF uh, that our hormone cascades and a lot of the rhythms of our body sync up to, because the rhythms uh, increase and decrease in amplitude on a 24-hour cycle. And so that's why you sleep better, and all these kind of things. So so when you put that bed pad, if you didn't get any electrons, what you would be getting is you would be syncing up, close coupling and syncing up with the rhythms of the earth, and then your body would be dancing with those rhythms that it did historically for millions of years. Um, I could talk for hours on that one. I mean, the menstrual cycle, to everything you can imagine. It's just all it's women know that they're connected um, to the earth. I mean, the rhythms and the cycles and the seasons and you know they feel it.
Mhm.
They're more sensitive to all of it. Did I answer it?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Robert has asked, and this is an interesting question. Do we know if earthing affects the pH of the body?
Yeah, that's where I started out. Was if if you ground the body, then the pH will normalize.
Mhm.
And we found that out in some of our studies, but most people don't know anything about pH. I mean, it's about base and, it's the potential of hydrogen to reduce oxygen and so on. But anyhow, it's really all the same thing, electrons. And um, so the problem that we ran into in our pH studies was I was totally convinced that grounding alone normalized pH, but pH is dynamic and it's related to your fight or flight system. So if you want to see somebody's pH skyrocket, all you got to do is if they get upset, if they get angry, if they or whatever. It's like one of the ladies in one of our studies, and she had extremely out of balance pH, and so we kept grounding her, we kept doing everything, and she ate well, she was healthy as could be, and then come to find out after the study was done, she was going through a divorce, and all of the emotional trauma of that maintained her pH very acidic. And that's, you could go on. I mean, but yes, pH is, it's all the same. Um, yeah, it's all, that's why it's, you need to be grounded at all times. So these dynamic things that happen in the body, like your fight and flight and all of this, that's all hormones and pH. And adding electrons, having a reservoir of free electrons to rebalance and uh, normalize pH. It's pH will normalize,
Mhm.
but you got to stop the process. You got to stop the anger. It isn't food that messes with pH. It's the mind.
Sure.
And we haven't talked about that yet. We haven't written about it yet. We have, but we haven't finished it. We will.
Brenda is asking if there's any science to prove that earthing will help with osteoporosis.
We don't have science, but I think you can go on, and again, maybe the SoCal study. I think they have information in there related to osteoporosis and how. But basically, what happens, what osteoporosis is, the animals in the wild don't have osteoporosis. Um, the people who do have osteoporosis haven't touched the earth in 30 years. And so what happens is the when you don't have enough free electrons in your body from the earth or from whatever sources, then your body has to maintain blood pH within 2 or 3 micropoints. I mean 7.2 plus or minus 1. Uh, don't have the terms with me right now, but anyhow, so if you do not have enough free electrons in your body, then your body is going to reduce. It's going to borrow calcium from the bones and use it to convert to produce electrons in order to maintain blood pH.
Mm.
So because we know that people who have osteoporosis, once they start grounding, they start laying bone back on, rebuilding the bone. So we don't have a bona fide qualified study, but I guarantee you, if you start grounding and stay grounded and grounded as much as you can, if you have osteoporosis, you're going to receive significant benefits. And if you are, then that doesn't mean you go off your Fosamax and all these things. You don't do anything like that without your doctor. But your you can do bone density. We have some of those, but we don't have them in a published form for studies. But yes, osteoporosis is a shortage of electrons in the body, and you have to dissolve the bone. The bones are the biggest reservoir of electrons.
Hmm.
And when it can't get them from natural or normal sources, then it robs them from the bone.
Very interesting. Well, Clint, I think it's about time to wrap it up.
Did we get
We
most of them?
we did get to most of them. We do have quite a few that we haven't quite gotten to. I know our customer service team is answering those in the background. Everybody, please remember that we will be doing this again next week around or at 3:30 on Monday, 3:30 p.m. Pacific time. Thank you everyone for submitting your questions. I actually really like this. I like to be able to scroll through all the questions, see kind of what are some popular topics right now? What are a lot of, sometimes you get the same question by multiple people. So that's really nice.
Yeah.
I hope we helped. Again, if you don't want to wait till next week, or you can't make it next week's webinar, please reach out to us at help@earthing.com. Visit our website, earthing.com. You can live chat us, you can give us a call. Remember, in honor of Earth Day, for the entire month of April, we are offering 10% off your first order. Just use the promo code Earth Day, all one word. If you haven't done so already, you should make sure that you're following us on social media and subscribe to our newsletter so you can stay in the loop regarding all of our webinars and sales, upcoming new products. And be sure to check out our Earthing YouTube channel where you can watch the Earthing movie. Well, thank you, Clint.
Yeah,
That was fun.
I have one thing to say that,
Yes.
if you have questions and you really want us to talk about them, just stay with us and
Yes.
keep coming back to us. And but in the meantime, you can do keyword search on the Earthing Institute. You can even do keyword search now on Google. It's unbelievable the amount of earthing stories that are out there. And if you want to learn about inflammation in your health disorder, grounding is about inflammation primarily, and the rhythms of the earth, and the circadian rhythms of the body. But if you want to learn how inflammation is related to what's going on in your life, Google. Just put in whatever health issue or disorder or situation, and then add the word inflammation, and then you will find the studies that speak to inflammation. And the other thing that is becoming more common now is the first order of business when you have chronic health disorder is to reduce inflammation. There is no way you can reduce inflammation faster than going outdoors and putting your bare feet on the earth. And then if your health is really compromised, you need to spend as much time grounded as you can indoors. And that's what these simple products that we have are for. It's not that we want to go out and get rich selling little bed pads. It's about educating everybody about grounding and mostly our kids and our children. Hopefully we're going to have some nice things, new products here coming shortly. Hopefully.
Well, thank you, Clint.
You bet.
You have a great night. And thank
Earthing
you, everybody,
Institute.
for watching. Yes, earthinginstitute.net.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.
Bye.